True Crime Society podcast contains adult themes and violence and is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. And if you'd like to skip the intro or move to any specific part of the podcast, please refer to the timestamps listed in the episode description. Thank you. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another... No, not Patreon. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the True Crime Society podcast with Stephanie and Olivia. It is March 22nd right now. The weather's cold, dreary, March shitty weather. March is still going strong as the worst month of the year. And I say that with my birthday being in that month. It's just every year. I don't know if it's like I have higher expectations because I'm like, oh, it's my birthday month. But every year, March sucks. The weather sucks. Everything going on sucks. It just sucks.
It's so weird because it is getting colder here. Like we're in autumn, fall now. But like I'm looking out the window and it's literally blue sky, but it's absolutely pouring with rain. So I'm like, I don't even understand how that can even happen. Like I know there are reasons, but it's just so weird to see blue sky and pouring rain.
Maybe you'll get a nice rainbow.
Yeah, maybe.
I did have a random topic to discuss. Well, it'll seem random to everyone, but it's not random to me because it's my life. But I just have to say with baby stuff, I'm trying to like reorganize because, you know, they grow so fast and grow out of everything. My advice to anyone who is about to have a baby, tell people not to get you baby clothes because, oh my God, the amount of stuff he has not worn is ridiculous. Like,
I remember when I used to clean out the kids' wardrobes and there would be so much stuff still with tags because you just don't, like they grow in a minute and you don't even have a chance to ever put it on them.
And especially with him being alive mostly in like the fall, winter, like we didn't go out really. We didn't go outside that much. So I honestly just had him in like the zipper sleepers all the time. So my advice would be just tell people to buy you zipper sleepers and only get some clothes because it got to the point where I'd like force myself to put him in outfits. Sometimes just be like, okay, we wore it one time. But then I just found a whole nother bin of like size 3 to 6 month stuff that I didn't even know was there. You didn't even wear. And I'm like, damn, it feels so wasteful. Like I'm going to save it in case I have another baby or something, but I doubt that's going to happen. But if anything, I could give them to someone else or give them to my sister. But it's just crazy, like how much stuff you get from everyone who's excited or get yourself because you're excited. And then it just all seems so wasteful.
I remember because I like the exact same thing happened to me. Like I'd go through and I'd clean out and I'd be like, this is disgusting, such a waste. And it's not on purpose, obviously. It's just because you literally don't have a chance for them to wear all these clothes. So now if any friends have a baby, they probably think I'm crazy, especially first-time parents. But like I always buy like a size 1 or a size 2 because I'm like, eventually they'll wear it. They've got so much stuff when they're newborn that everyone gives you. So I try and buy something that's a little bit older so they might not have that or might be able to use it a little bit more.
It is good to do because right now I'm like, he's in like the 6 to 9 month clothes and I have like none of them and I have to buy them all myself basically. Meanwhile, I got gifted so many of the other sizes that he didn't even get to wear all of them. And I'm like, I wish that some of these were like spread out a little more.
Yeah, because I always know like everyone loves buying the cute tiny little baby stuff, which is so nice, but then you just grow out of it so quickly. So I always try and buy something a little bit bigger.
Yeah. It's just crazy how fast you go through it.
I know. Crazy times.
And what's going on with you?
Nothing, pretty quiet here. We've got just under 3 weeks till our trip, hopefully. Like every day I wake up and I check the news and I'm like, what's happening today? Is the world still going? Who knows? But yeah, so we're still planning. My daughter is dancing at Disneyland, so we had the Disney preview show on Saturday night, which was really cool because the actual piece they dance to is like 25 minutes long. So there's 30 kids. So obviously they're not all on stage at once. They come on and come off and do, but it was so good. Like they've been practicing for over a year. So hopefully we get there and we get to see them.
Is it like a tournament? Or like
no,
a competition,
it's just literally like a show, like a performance.
Are they performing like at Disney?
Yeah. So I think they're performing at California Adventure Park. Like I think there's stages at both the parks in Disneyland where we are doing California Adventure and then they're also doing a show at Universal Studios in LA. So they get to perform it twice. So like it's like a 10-day program when we get to LA. They do workshops with other dancers and other dance studios in LA, which is cool. And then they do the 2 actual performances. So it's been a lot. And like the age range of the dancers is from like 6 to 18. So a big variety of people. They've
Wow.
done so well to put it all together. So
Oh, that's
hopefully we get
cool.
there.
Yeah, you will. I have faith.
Yeah.
It's not happening in March, so you should be fine.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. Like the retrograde was meant to be over 3 days ago or something. It still feels like someone's forgotten to tell the planets that it's over.
Yeah, and forgot to tell baby Jack too.
Oh,
So we have some Patreon shout-outs, people who joined within the last week. So we have Andrea, JC, Ashley, Samantha, Jean, Fiona, Sheila, Michelle, Judy, Sylvie, Lex, Lauren, Stevie, and Haley. So thank you guys so much for joining.
yeah. We appreciate everyone listening, but especially our Patreons are so lovely and supportive. They, we always chat with them on Patreon, and it's just so helpful. Like it really enables us to do a lot with True Crime Society thanks to our Patreon. So we're very, very thankful.
Yeah, and it enabled me to quit my shitty job for now. So I am in debt to all of you and so grateful. I think about it every day. Anytime someone joins, I feel so happy I could cry. So thank you.
And we do have a listener of the week this week. It's Dusty. I won't say where she's from just in case she doesn't want us to, but she says, I am from X. Can't wait to listen to you guys cover this. That was in terms of our Charity Bialis episode. Y'all are amazing. Don't listen to the haters about your banter at the beginning. It makes me feel like we are friends. I love it. So thank you very, very much.
We are friends.
Yes, we are friends.
We're all friends.
In a non-creepy way. We're all friends.
We're friends. Okay. Today we are going to be talking about a bit of a different case. It's like some people are probably going to love it and some people are going to be like, what? But it is true crime.
I feel like I am one of the most cynical and basic people out there. Like I'm always like, no, it's definitely like the most obvious reason for a crime is usually what it is. And I still do feel like it in this case. But I have to say this case is one that's got me going, this is a bit interesting maybe. That's probably one of the only cases in recent times where I think there may be, or there's a chance there could be maybe more going on than just the most sensible theory.
But like, I don't think aliens. I'll just throw out there's aliens potentially involved.
Aliens and UFOs, and usually I'm like, but there's a lot going on in this case.
If anything, I more think government, but I doubt it. Anyways, we're talking about the case of missing William Neil McCasland.
So former Major General William McCasland held some of the most sensitive positions in the Air Force, and authorities say 2 weeks ago he left his New Mexico home and he hasn't been seen since. What we're told by police is that his wife returned from a short appointment. She came home and found he was gone, but his phone, his prescription glasses, his wearable devices were all left behind, though his wallet, his hiking boots, and a revolver were all missing. Now search teams have been pouring over the trails where he often hikes, trying to locate him. Major General McCasland at one point commanded the Air Force Research Laboratory. He oversaw cutting-edge technology, and actually after he retired in 2013, he worked briefly as an unpaid consultant for a group that was researching UFOs. Now, we should note on social media, his wife says she highly doubts that his military background or his career afterwards are related to his disappearance, and she says before he disappeared, he was not experiencing any confusion or disorientation. Police say at this point there are no signs of foul play here, but they are asking for the public's help, any kind of information or video, to try to find him.
All right, so William Neil McCasland disappeared without a trace, but the details surrounding his case are anything but ordinary. Reports of strange lights, unexplained sightings, and a timeline that doesn't quite hold together have kept this case lingering in the gray area between fact and speculation. Was this simply a missing persons case, or is there something more unusual at play? So Major General William Neil McCasland, who is 68, he's been missing since February 27, 2026 from Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're going to refer to him as Neil throughout the episode because that's what his wife and family refer to him as, and it seems like that's what he went by.
Yeah, all the media are referring to him generally as Neil as well. But
so there's a lot of conspiracy theories about this case due to the fact that Neil oversaw classified space weapons programs and served as head of research at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio during his time in the Air Force. That facility has long been rumored to house fragments of extraterrestrial debris from a UFO crash in Roswell, New Mexico.
Before we get into the episode, we're going to hear a word from our sponsor, Noom. I know that I've been thinking a lot about my health these days, and a way for me that I can reach peak health is to drop a little bit of weight occasionally. Sometimes it's hard to keep on top of weight loss and staying healthy. and I sometimes plateau. I feel like I tried everything and nothing is working for me no matter what, and things that worked in the past stop working for some reason. So we've all been there, but Nooms unlock the secret to reaching the mountaintop. That's going micro. That's right. Micro habits, micro wins, even microdose GLP-1s. Noom is the easy way to start on GLP-1 medication. That's because Noom starts you on a smaller dose of medication and then you gradually scale up depending on how your body reacts to it. That doesn't mean you still don't lose weight. In fact, Noom found users lose on average 8 pounds in 30 days on their microdose protocol.
But what good is losing all that weight if you can't make the results stick? That's why Noom pairs their microdose GLP-1s with behavior change and coaching so you can learn healthy habits and make the results stick. The Noom GLP-1 microdose program starts at $99 and is delivered to your door in 7 days. Start your microdose GLP-1 journey today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com. Noom, micro changes, big results. Disclaimers. Initial 3-week subscription and 4 weeks of medication from $99 plus tax and $199 per month plus tax for 12-week subscription thereafter. Final pricing depends on program selection. Noom GLP-1 RX program involves healthy diet, exercise, and support. Individual results may vary. Meds and personalization based on clinical need, not reviewed by FDA for safety, efficacy, or quality. No affiliation with Novo Nordisk Inc., the only U.S. source of FDA-approved semaglutide, not available in all 50 U.S. states. Results are based on an analysis of self-reported data from 1,254 engaged Noom users. So Neil was born in 1957. His parents are William Sr. and Robin McCasland. They were an Air Force family. William Sr. was killed in a flying accident when his son was young. Robin remarried another man named William R. Casey, so there's a lot of Williams.
Yeah, a lot of Williams.
So no wonder he went by Neil. Neil is a highly educated man with a long career history, and it seems important to the case. So we're going to go through his achievements in his career because that's kind of what fuels a lot of the conspiracy speculation that's going on.
I feel like sometimes this is probably, I can't ever think of a case where someone has been this highly educated and has done so much in their career. So like there is a lot. I don't want people just to think, oh, this is boring. They're just reading out his career achievements. I feel like it's really super important to the case, which is why it'll give you a better idea of where he's come from and where he was at the time of his disappearance. That's why we're including a lot about his life achievements.
Yeah. So he attended the United States Air Force Academy and graduated from there in 1979 with a Bachelor of Science degree in aeronautical engineering. He went on to obtain a master's degree in aeronautical engineering estimation and controls from MIT in 1980. In 1985, Neil went back to MIT and completed a doctorate in astronautical engineering. He defended his dissertation, which was called Sensor and Actuator Selection for Fault-Tolerant Control of Flexible Structures in 1988. Neil went on to attend the Air War College at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama. He graduated from there in 1995. And in 2004, he participated in the U.S.-Russia security program at Harvard University. After graduate school, Neil served in the Payload Systems Division with the Secretary of the Air Force Office of Special Projects 6 and 8 at Los Angeles Air Force Base, California, until 1985 when he returned to MIT for the doctorate. After graduation, he returned to Los Angeles AFB as Assistant Director of the Office of Special Projects 13. As Lieutenant, McCasland reportedly stood out among his peers, becoming one of just a handful of lower officers given large program leadership responsibilities for highly classified development units within what became the birth of Air Force satellite reconnaissance as it exists today. It's like I'm saying all these words. I have no idea what they mean.
I know, there are a lot of
I'm just
words,
saying words. Early in his Air Force career, Neil married Susan Wilkerson, and they were still married at the time of his disappearance. In 1992, Neil moved to Colorado, where he served as Director of Mission Planning for Aerospace Data Facility at the Buckley Air Force Base. He then moved to Los Angeles Air Force Base, which is LA AFB, where he spent 3 years as the Chief Engineer of Navstar GPS Joint Program Office, the controlling authority for the global positioning system for government, commercial, and consumer applications. So over the coming years, some of his roles included being in control of the Space-Based Laser Project Office at LA AFB as Systems Program Director, being the Material Wing Director at the Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico. In 2004, he became the Vice Commander of the Ogden Air Logistics Center. After that, he returned to LAAFB as vice commander of the Space and Missiles Systems Center.
Like, I know all this is real and legit, but it's just wild to me that this was his whole career was literally based on space. And, you know, it just seems so extraordinary. It's almost unbelievable. It reminds me of like Independence Day or some crazy movie, that this was his whole focus of his career was on space and the universe. It's wild.
Yeah. No, I agree. For some reason, something in my mind is like, space isn't real.
Yeah, I know.
Like, you know what I mean?
You've had this whole career on something that's not even, and I know space is real, so don't come at me, but
Yeah.
I know it's just so weird that, like, it's mind blowing that his area, like, such a specialized area of expertise, unbelievable.
Yeah,
He would be such a fascinating.
I'm sure other
person
people
to
can
talk to.
relate because
Yeah.
it's just such, space is like insane if you think about that. I think sometimes our brains are just like, I'm not going to think about that.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to like space and missiles and weapons. Like,
Yeah.
what? So in 2007, Neil was assigned to the Pentagon as director of space acquisition, within the office of the Undersecretary of the Air Force. In 2009, he was promoted to director of special programs within the office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition, Technologies, and Logistics. Serving as director of special programs also made Neil executive secretary for the Special Access Program Oversight Committee, in charge of the oversight review body with the full purview of all of America's most sensitive and secretive knowledge, capabilities, and programs. So this is kind of where a lot of the conspiracies come in, because he seems like he had access to a lot of top secret information.
Yeah.
Neil's final posting was in May 2011, where he moved to Ohio and assumed command of the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. While in this position, he led billions of dollars in advanced materials sciences and future weapons research across one of the largest scientific centers in the Department of Defense.
So he had a very decorated career, as you can tell by his achievements so far that we've listed, and these are just some of the badges that he's got. He has the Office of Secretary of Defense Identification Badge, Air Force Training Ribbon, National Defense Service Medal with a Bronze Service Star, Defense Superior Service Medal. So I've put all of these kind of badges that he's been given on the blog, but a very, very decorated and highly regarded man in his career and workplace.
So as of 2026, Neil was director of technology at Applied Technology Associates, an Albuquerque, New Mexico-based subsidiary of Arlington, Virginia-based Blue Halo, a defense conglomerate operating in the areas of space warfare, directed energy, missile defense. He is also an associate fellow of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. He is a senior member of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. So Neil has a Wikipedia page, and this information is from that page directly, and we checked the sources through there. So Neil first became linked with the topic of UFOs during a WikiLeaks release in 2016. Emails from John Podesta, the chairman for the Hillary Clinton campaign, were released. The archive of documents was obtained from a data breach by Fancy Bear, a hacking group that the United States government alleges is associated with military intelligence assets of the Russian Federation. Podesta's involvement in the UFO disclosure initiatives is well documented throughout his service in both the Clinton and Obama administrations. Blink-182 band member Tom DeLonge led To the Stars, a nonprofit associated with the UFO disclosure movement. The pair's collaboration on seemingly fringe science led some to speculate that public officials like Neil were manipulating Tom into developing a UFO cover story for new classified American defense technology of a terrestrial origin.
For me, I feel like this is a little bit where it kind of jumps the shark. I'm like, this is where it gets a little bit crazy and wild. But this is all apparently documented. I guess the extent to what happened is up for debate. But I feel like for me, this is especially where it all gets a bit crazy.
Yeah, it's funny. I have, as a Blink-182 fan, I have a To the Stars shirt. I should have worn it for the episode. So some info about To the Stars. To the Stars, Inc., often called To the Stars Academy or TTSA, is one of the more unusual organizations in the UFO world. It sits somewhere between a media company, research group, and speculative science venture. So, I mean, anyone who is a fan of Blink-182 probably knows that Tom DeLonge was very, very into aliens. The company claimed a pretty ambitious mission. It said study UFOs or UAPs in advanced aerospace tech, explore fringe science ideas like exotic propulsion or consciousness, share information with the public through movies, books, and TV. Tom DeLonge described it as combining science, aerospace, and entertainment. Other speculation focused on a relationship between Neil and Michael Duggan, an Australian-American scientist with AFRL at Kirtland Air Force Base, New Mexico, who spent years of his Air Force career in research of UFO phenomena. Michael was an assistant to J. Allen Hynek, an astronomer who led the Air Force's infamous Project Blue Book, one of the first investigations of reported encounters with UFOs by the United States government. So again, this all sounds like a lot. Reading it is a lot, but it's relevant to the conspiracy theories. So again, that's why we are getting into all of it. So now we'll get into the timeline of his actual disappearance. So on Friday, February 27, 2026, Neil interacted with a handyman around 10 a.m. Susan, his wife, saw Neil and then left to head to an appointment around 11:10 a.m.
So I did have a look to try and see if I could find Neil's address. But I found the street, I believe. I think it may even be owned by like the Air Force or some type of government kind of run community, but I can't find his actual house. But I've put some photos in, I'll pop them in the blog, of houses in the area. So it gives you an idea of kind of the area where he likely went missing from. It's quite flat, and then in the background there's mountains. It almost reminds me a little bit of Tucson where Nancy Guthrie went missing. Don't come at me if it's not exactly the same, but very desert-like, scrubby. Like if he was hiking, I can see he could have gone up into those mountains, for example, and like that would have been accessible from his house.
Yeah. When Susan returned home at 12:04 p.m. and there was no sign of Neil, she reported him missing. It was pretty quick. He had vanished within a 1-hour time period. The local sheriff's office said his phone, prescription glasses, and wearable devices were located at the residence. Authorities also said that hiking boots, his wallet, and a 38 caliber revolver in a leather holster were missing from his home. On March 1st, 2026, a silver alert was issued for Neil. A silver alert is a public notification system used in the United States to locate missing seniors, particularly those with Alzheimer's disease, dementia, or other mental disabilities. So the silver alert does have his basic information. Says he was last seen on February 27, 2026 at approximately 11 a.m. in the area of Quail Run Court. It also says unknown clothing description and unknown direction of travel. Due to his medical issues, law enforcement is concerned for his safety. So even though the silver alert said they didn't know what he was wearing, the sheriff's office was saying that he was last seen wearing a light green button-up outdoor shirt with a button-down collar and 2 chest pockets, and there is a picture of him in that shirt that's also been posted.
I do find it interesting that he was last seen on February 27th, so then obviously February 28th came and went, and then they released the silver alert finally on March the 1st, so I wonder why there was that. Like, that's quite a lot. That's, 48 hours nearly after he was last seen for someone who may be undergoing some type of medical condition,
Yeah, I agree. It seems like maybe they knew more, had some thoughts. I don't know. So some more info from the sheriff. The silver alert was issued based on information available early in the investigation that indicated Mr. McCasland could be at some level of risk and that additional public assistance was needed to locate him. Due to privacy laws, BSCO will not release medical details or speculate about his state of mind. Authorities asked residents in the local area to review any CCTV from February 27th and 28th and send any information to law enforcement. The Air Force also released a statement. They said, "We are coordinating closely with local authorities and defer all updates regarding the search efforts to the sheriff's office." And that was from Colonel Justin Seacrest, who's the base commander of the 377th Air Base Wing at Kirtland. And he also said, "Our thoughts are with his family during this difficult time."
Before we finish up with the episode, we're going to hear a word from our sponsor, Quince. These days, I'm all about quality over quantity, especially in my closet. If it's not well made and versatile, it's just not worth it to me. I'm very picky with the pieces I buy. I like to have more staple things that I know I can wear day in and day out than just stuff that I never ever touch. And that's honestly why I love Quince. The fabrics feel elevated, the cuts are thoughtful, and the pricing actually makes sense. Quince works directly with safe, ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen. You're not paying for brand markup or fancy retail stores, just quality clothing.
Quince clothing is consistently rated 4.5 to 5 stars by thousands of customers, real people wearing these pieces every day and actually loving them. I have a couple of the Mongolian cashmere crew neck sweaters. I love them because they're light, but they're still warm, so they're really good for when the weather is always constantly changing, as we always talk about. I also have a few of their bamboo sleepers for baby Jack that I love to put him in because they're so comfy and cozy, and I know he's going to sleep tight in them. Stop waiting to build the wardrobe you actually want. You don't need a closet full of options. You need pieces that work. Right now, go to quince.com/TCS for free shipping and 365-day returns. That's a full year to wear it and love it, and you will. Now available in Canada too. Don't keep settling for clothes that don't last. Go to quince.com/TCS for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/TCS.
So not too long after Neil went missing, his wife Susan made some social media posts. She has spoken a lot about the online gossip surrounding the case, rumors that have surrounded the case, due to Neil's kind of documented history and career that we mentioned in terms of him maybe being involved with sensitive information and UFOs and that type of thing. I've picked out some of the most interesting parts of her statements. In one post, she thanks searchers for their unflagging, dedicated efforts and support. She said, "I would like to take this opportunity to dispel some of the misinformation circulating about Neil and his disappearance, mostly from uninformed media sources." She went on to discuss the silver alert. She said the initial silver alert mentioned medical conditions, which some have taken to mean Alzheimer's. Neil is at some risk, but not from dementia. He was not confused and disoriented. There were also some rumors of there was some phone call around the time that he went missing. That obviously wasn't confirmed, but she spoke about that. She said there was no concerning Friday morning telephone call to a close relative. I have been in contact with all of his close relatives and some not so close ones. This is a complete fabrication. She then went on to speak about Neil's alleged access to top secret information. She said it's true that when Neil was in the Air Force, he had access to some highly classified programs and information. He retired from the Air Force almost 13 years ago and had only held very commonly held clearances since. It seems unlikely that he was taken to extract very dated secrets from him. She also then addressed his relationship with Tom DeLonge. She said it's true that Neil had a brief association with the UFO community through Tom DeLonge, who was the former frontman for Blink-182 and founder of To the Stars. Neil worked with Tom for a bit shortly after his Air Force retirement as an unpaid, which she then clarifies was Neil's choice, consultant on military and technical scientific matters to lend credence to Tom's fiction book and media activities. This is what his wife is addressing. I feel like it's wild that she has to address all of this, but she carries on with, after the Russians hacked John Podesta's emails, and then she puts see Neil's Wikipedia page, which is partly why we included it. There was less contact with Tom and the community pushing for the release of UFO information. This connection is not a reason for someone to abduct Neil. Neil does not have any special knowledge about the ET bodies and debris from the Roswell crash stored at Wright-Pratt. Though at this point, with absolutely no sign of him, maybe the best hypothesis is that aliens beamed him up to the mothership. However, no sightings of a mothership hovering above the mountains have been reported. She then went on to say, all the thoughts and prayers from around the country are very much appreciated. I will update if and when any real information comes in. Another post that she wrote kind of gave an update on the search that had been undertaken for Neil. She said, Neil McCasland has now been missing for 1 week. There has been no indication whatsoever of where he might be. There have been dozens of searchers on foot, both official and friends and neighbours of Neil's who coordinate with official sources. There have also been horseback searches, drones with different capabilities, helicopters, 3 different types of search dogs, neighbourhood canvassing and looking for ring or wildlife videos. So that was the update she gave after a week. We're now at basically the end of this week will be a month, so we're at 3 and a bit weeks. At the time of recording, obviously he's still missing, but that was the update she gave. So on March 7th, 2026, around a week after he disappeared, a grey US Air Force sweatshirt was discovered around a mile east of Neil's house. No blood was detected on the shirt, and deputies aren't even sure if the clothing belonged to Neil. I did have a look this morning before we recorded. There are still no updates as if it does belong to Neil. If this is an Air Force community, I feel like it's not totally likely that it may belong to him. Maybe it does. I don't know. But either way, they found a sweatshirt, may or may not belong to him.
For some reason, not that I know anything about him at all, he doesn't give me like Air Force sweatshirt vibes.
Yeah. So it was also revealed that Neil vanished just days after President Trump announced in a Truth Social post that he was directing the Pentagon and other federal agencies to release government records related to extraterrestrials and UFOs. So people were questioning the timing of his disappearance in relation to that post. So a former Department of Defense intelligence officer spoke about this weird coincidental timing and about Neil's disappearance. He said, "I hope and pray this is not one of those cases where a former senior military officer was specifically targeted, and that he will be found happy and healthy in the immediate near term for his sake and the sake of his loved ones. Whether or not his disappearance had anything to do with any legacy involvement he may have had in UAP research, I prefer to allow law enforcement the necessary time to do their work before speculating." So this intelligence officer now works and advocates for the release of classified information about UFOs. So
I feel so dumb because I don't even understand what he means.
well, and do you know what? I know I don't want to seem even dumber than we already do, but I know UFOs. I didn't know what UAP stands for and do you know what it stands for?
Is that unidentified?
Unidentified and anomalous phenomena. So this is where everyone starts to, everyone started from very early on putting their 2 cents in. Obviously he was taken maybe for his government knowledge, his whatever he knew, even this person worked for the Department of Defense at one point and was giving his view on the case.
Mm-hmm.
On March 13th, so around 2 weeks after he disappeared, law enforcement gave an update on the case to the media. The sheriff's office said investigators have contacted more than 600 homeowners in the neighbourhood near Mr. McCasland's residence to request security camera footage or information. To date, no sightings have been reported. They said they'd received dozens of tips by that time related to the investigation. Authorities also spoke more about the silver alert and why it was issued for Neil when he wasn't said to be suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's or any similar condition. They said that Neil had previously reported experiencing a, quote, mental fog, and that was a reason he'd given for stepping down from certain companies and entities that he'd worked with, though investigators have said they do believe he was mentally sharp at the time he disappeared. Lieutenant Carl Woods said there's no indication and we are not putting forward that Mr. McCasland was disoriented or confused. Arguably, he would still be the most intelligent person in the room that any of us would be in. Highly intelligent, highly capable, but that information was given to us early on. And out of abundance of caution, we escalated to a silver alert to try and gain as much public attention as possible to help locate him as soon as possible. So I do find that interesting. His wife obviously would know more about why he was in this alleged mental fog. She hasn't really said, just to say that he doesn't have dementia or Alzheimer's disease. I have seen speculation about what the mental fog was caused by. People were speculating things like long COVID, maybe some other type of medical condition that maybe
sometimes just medication can cause it too.
And also, I know they're saying he doesn't have Alzheimer's or dementia, but he is 68 years old. So I don't know, age also, I don't know. But we haven't really ever got clarification on why he was apparently suffering this mental fog. The other thing it could have been too is depression. Maybe he wasn't in his right mind as such, or he had been acting differently in the weeks or months before he
That's kind of what would make the most sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. But we don't have any clarification on what this alleged mental fog is
seems
as of the time we're recording.
With the silver alert and then them being like, no, he's fine. It seems like they knew maybe something like he was depressed or struggling with some type of medical condition, but then for some reason, they didn't want people to know that. So it was like they put it out there, then it kind of seemed like they backtracked on it. Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
And there's been a lot of focus on that because people are like, well, why are you issuing this silver alert if he's fine? There's been a lot of discussion about that. And I agree. It was very confusing because they kind of issued it for a reason and then said, no, actually, that's not the reason. So who knows? So on March 14th, the New York Post released an article stating that an anonymous social media account possibly belonging to Neil had been discovered. The last post on the account, which was on X, was made on February 27th, which was the same day that Neil went missing. Their handle is at TMB Spaceships, and this is some information from the New York Post. It says the account claims to be run by a retired 38-year active duty United States Air Force with a PhD in engineering, and that lists a bunch of places where this person allegedly worked. I think some of them match with Neil. It says both the AFIT and the AFMC are located at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which Neil ran from 2011 to 2013. His career went for 34 years, so maybe he kind of changed it up a little bit if it is his account. And then it goes on to say, the account shockingly claimed just months before Neil's disappearance that Major General John Rossi, who allegedly committed suicide in 2016, was actually murdered because of refusal to hand over nuclear material to private contractors. It says the 55-year-old, as in John Rossi, ended his life just 2 days before receiving a third star and taking the reins at the US Army Space and Missile Defense Command. His death was ruled a hanging due to severe lack of sleep and job anxiety. And the person, whoever owns this TMB Spaceships account, wrote, General Rossi was a good friend, and it is my opinion that he did not commit suicide. I believe General Rossi was killed because of the incident reported to the Pentagon IG, which is Inspector General, that he would not transfer nuclear weapons to private hands just months prior in an attempted nuclear weapons theft from Fort Sill. The person goes on to say, General Rossi knew DOE takes all custody of nuclear weapons, not private contractors. So if you didn't know what DOE is, I didn't, because I'm not from the US, stands for United States Department of Energy in terms of UFOs and space, and that's what they are referring to in that post. So interesting. Obviously, they can't really, I'm sure they could probably behind the scenes be working out to figure if this is Neil's account, whether or not it has anything to do with his disappearance, even if it is up for debate, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
So on March 17, the Sheriff John Allen spoke about the search for Neil to date. He said investigators have canvassed more than 700 homes and have searched a vast stretch of terrain using dogs, drones, and helicopters. He went on to say it's vast, it's a lot of square mileage, there's a lot of hidden areas, there's rocky areas, and there's areas where people can get injured in. He said that the office had received 74 tips, which doesn't really sound like a huge amount to me after 3 weeks, essentially, but that doesn't include any tips sent directly to the FBI. Investigators were said to be working through a significant amount of video footage. Again, I feel like most of this is probably ring footage. Like when we look at the photo of the neighborhood, there are a lot of houses near each other. It's not super rural, depending on where like super remote, I guess, depending on
It looks
where.
like the houses are close to the road, unlike with Nancy.
Yeah, like it
Guthrie.
looks definitely a lot more populated than Nancy's area. Like I would suspect they're mainly looking through Ring and CCTV, doorbell camera footage.
Yeah.
So as of March 18, which was nearly 3 weeks after he was last seen, the search for Neil was still going. They were said to be experiencing unseasonably warm temperatures in Albuquerque, and this was hindering search efforts. Lieutenant Carl Woods told reporters, unfortunately, we're having one of the warmest springs we've had in years. And the imagery coming off of the flare, the mountain was just lit up like even a candle at night. We couldn't differentiate from heat signatures and the heat from the rocks. So, obviously, if it's colder, it may be easier to detect if there's a person or an animal or something within those mountains. But they're saying it was just too hot that they weren't able to differentiate anything because of the heat given from the rocks. Lieutenant Wood, sorry, what were we saying? Would you say that's crazy?
I said that's crazy.
Lieutenant Woods said that authorities had covered the entire canyon except maybe some difficult to reach parts using drones, helicopters, and ground teams. But the combination of terrain and the weather had left investigators without any breakthrough. He went on to say, if we receive information that would lead to this becoming a recovery mission, we would pursue that with the same vigor. So if he was out there after 3 weeks, highly unlikely, like for instance, let's say he's broke his leg or whatever, it would be highly unlikely that he could have survived. Even if he did have, some snacks and water, it doesn't seem like there's any indication he left the house with supplies to indicate that he would be gone for a long time.
Yeah.
So despite it being reported that Neil, as we mentioned, had been wearing that green button-down shirt, they actually released a photo of him wearing this shirt at a different time and hiking boots when he left his house. On March 18th, we learned that these items had actually been found at a second home that he owned in Pagosa Springs in Colorado. I feel like this is a super strange aspect of the case. Did the wife not see what he was wearing? Did the handyman or the tradesperson not see what he was wearing? So was Neil wearing these clothes and he somehow made it to the house in Colorado? The house is around 35 miles north of the New Mexico border and around 200 miles from his home in Albuquerque. Or did they maybe just assume he was wearing the items because they couldn't find them at his house in Albuquerque? I don't know.
Yeah, they should probably clarify that.
Maybe, or what? He could, another option is maybe he had multiple things. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it's weird that they said this is what he was wearing. First of all, they said that his clothing was unknown in the Silver Alert. Then they said this is what he was wearing and released a photo of the clothing. And now they're saying actually that stuff was found at his other house. So I don't know. It's very, very strange.
They would just be like, so do you think he was wearing that or was he not wearing, was he wearing something else? I wish they would clarify.
I agree. So at that time, though, according to CNN, they said still unaccounted for Neil's wallet, his .38 caliber revolver, a leather holster, and a red backpack. Authorities have not said whether they believe he had those items when he left, though. So I feel like reading between the lines, it indicates that he likely took at least some of those items with him if they haven't been able to be found. Like maybe the backpack could have been lost somewhere, but you're probably highly unlikely to lose a gun and your wallet and not if they're not anywhere else.
Mhm.
So this is an interesting aspect of the case. Basically, we're now at March 22nd as of the time of recording. There isn't a whole lot of new information since then. But one thing we have learned in the last few days is that since Neil's disappearance, there has been a renewed focus on another unsolved case. It's a case of a missing woman who was also in the same kind of field of employment. She was an aerospace engineer named Monica Reza. She vanished while on a hike in June 2025. She's still missing. Monica was last seen on June 22nd near Mount Waterman in the Angeles National Forest in California, and she was seen at 9:10 a.m. near a trail along the Angeles Crest Highway. According to News Nation, Monica had been walking around 30 feet behind her hiking partner when she vanished. Her hiking partner said that they turned around and Monica had vanished without a trace. This is crazy. Like, I don't even know how this happened. I was reading about this, trying to find out more information. The hiking person was saying that Monica was like waving and laughing, and then when they turned around next, she was gone. So
Yeah, that's weird.
very strange. Like, I know obviously there could be a fall, like maybe the person's story isn't 100% correct, but if she was literally only 30 feet behind her hiking partner and then all of a sudden she's gone, you would think that the areas of where she could be would be limited. There must be some time discrepancy in this story, I feel.
Yeah. I read I don't know
yeah.
if it's true, but I thought I read people saying online that she was like his assistant at one point.
Well, so this is what I was just going to get into. So
Oh.
Monica worked under Neil at one point. So she knew Neil. They were colleagues at one point on a government-funded aerospace program. She developed a special metal that was used in rockets through a US government-funded program that was overseen by Neil. So two people who worked on the same team have now disappeared in under a year. Like, Monica's still missing. At the time of recording, Neil is still missing. This is just another very strange aspect to the case.
Yeah, it is.
So Alex Caprariello is News Nation's, I guess, correspondent on this case. He's been posting a lot about it, and we've been sharing a lot of his thoughts and their interviews. He went on to say, "We don't know whether or not these missing persons cases are connected at this point, but I did tip off the sheriff's department about it, asked if this was the lead they were investigating, and we're still waiting to hear back." So this is probably the main part where I'm like, this is very strange. What are the odds that two people, two separate states, like she went missing in California, he went missing from New Mexico, but they had worked together on, classified projects, go missing in under a year? Very, very strange.
Yeah, that's the part too, because I'm very much not a conspiracy theorist about most things, but I'm like, that is weird.
And especially because we think he probably took the gun. Like, to me, that indicates maybe he was depressed and was going to take his life somewhere and he just hasn't been found, like something along those lines. But then this missing persons thing is the one part that makes me think this is a little bit strange.
Yeah, agreed.
So, as I mentioned, News Nation are following this case super closely. They post almost daily about it. One of the most recent updates as of the time of recording is that apparently there is actually no record of Neil ever seen actually leaving his home. I feel like that is maybe a bit of a non-update because maybe he just went through a way that wasn't captured by camera. I don't know. There could be a bunch of ways why, or a bunch of reasons why he wasn't captured on camera leaving the house.
Yeah.
So we are now, as I mentioned, just a few days short of a month of Neil being missing. The media attention is still there, but it is dying down a little bit. So some of the last articles 6 days ago, a week ago, I feel like there just isn't really much to go on. They are saying that it may be foul play, but at this point in time, it could be anything. We don't have any ideas or nothing that's been publicly released.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of Neil's appearance, if anyone may see him, because this will come out pretty soon, he's described as 5 feet 11 inches tall with white hair and blue eyes. He's believed to have left his residence on foot. He's an avid outdoorsman and he's known to hike, run and cycle in the area. They've asked that hikers who may have been in the area and were wearing GoPro cameras or taking phone footage in Albuquerque are also asked to check their footage and submit anything that could help find Neil. So I guess we are now at the theories. There are, I guess, quite a few. The ones that I've picked out, I think, as the main ones that have been discussed are first, that he voluntarily disappeared. Second is maybe foul play. Third is accident or misadventure. Fourth is maybe a mental health episode or disorientation. And the fifth, I guess, is the most out there, and that's that there's UFO or government involvement in his case. So I made some notes on each of the theories. In terms, I feel like, for me, I guess you can almost tie involuntary disappearance and mental health episode, because I do feel like the most likely reasoning for him going missing is that he was either depressed or he had something going on and he wanted to end his life. I guess he could have taken the gun for protection if he was going out into the wilderness. Maybe I would like to know if he often took his gun if he was going hiking.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like this was probably intentional. That is my most likely scenario. It could be an accident. I feel like if it was like, why did he leave his phone and his wearable devices at home if he didn't want to be tracked? Like if he was just going out for a hike, just take those things. And that way, if you do have an accident, someone will be more likely to be able to find you. So I feel like for him leaving all his stuff at home, but taking the gun indicates that maybe he had a plan. Yeah. So foul play, was he murdered due to his knowledge? Why now? He's been out of the Air Force, really, retired for over a decade. Why are they bothering now? I don't know. I guess, when we spoke about Trump's post, maybe it has something to do with that.
But I just think that would more lead to maybe information is going to come out that would lead him to commit suicide or something.
Yeah. Maybe... Yeah, he was worried about some information coming out, maybe and I'm just speculating because none of this is out there, but maybe a misuse of funds. It could be something along those lines. I don't know. But I personally would be shocked if this isn't a voluntary disappearance / suicide.
Yeah, I agree. I don't believe in the conspiracy theories because like you said, and like his wife said, most of the information he had was outdated. It's not like he's involved in really anything cutting edge right now, it seems like. So why now? Why not then?
Yeah.
If anything, I think it'd be more like I have heard that people who are highly intelligent, highly educated are more likely to be depressed. Also, I'm sure with these positions and jobs, he probably does know some grim information or just some things that are maybe hard to cope with after all this time or built up. If you look at it, he probably knows a lot of stuff that the average person doesn't, and also probably not being able to talk about much of it because it's such sensitive information. I could imagine that after many, many years that could weigh on someone.
I do want to know more about this mental fog because I wonder too if he was aware of some type of maybe cognitive decline. Maybe he knew that his memory was going and he that could have contributed to if this was a depressive episode, for example, something like that, he may have chosen to take matters into his own hands. I can't even imagine someone who was so highly educated and so intelligent realizes that they are starting to decline. Maybe that could be something along those lines.
Yeah, or I was thinking maybe it's just not public information, but maybe there was some type of diagnosis that he found out about and
absolutely
wanted to take his own life instead.
I feel like people may come for us with this because we did ask on Instagram what people's thoughts were on what happened in this case. So 56% of people in our poll said they believe that he was targeted / foul play. We only have 4 options, so I couldn't expand on them. But 56% of people said they believe targeted or foul play. 26% said they believe he left to take his own life. 12% think he's voluntarily missing and alive. And then 6% believe aliens or others. So I guess the government would it could fall into either foul play or other. But we are in the minority, it seems, of what people think happened in this case. I would say I'm probably 60%. That would be my guess, is that this was self-inflicted. The only thing that gives me more pause is the fact that his colleague is also missing. That is a very, very, very strange coincidence.
Yeah, I agree. I still lean towards that it was probably suicide. Or, I was thinking it could have been an accident or misadventure at first until you made the point about why wouldn't he bring his phone then? Because I did see people saying on Reddit, hiking in certain areas around there, most people would bring a gun because there's mountain lions and stuff. But like you said, why wouldn't he bring those other things?
And the other thing is too, they were very specific. They said wearable devices. So that he was a very fit and active man. On his Facebook page, there's photos of him. I would think it's some type of Garmin watch, Apple Watch, maybe, I don't know, whatever. So something along those lines. So he
didn't want to be tracked either.
Those at home, which indicates to me that he probably didn't want to be found.
Yeah, I agree. I also just think, because I've seen comments online of people who are saying kind of we're saying, how it seems like it wasn't this big conspiracy theory. And then people are just no, it was Russia, blah, 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 government conspiracy cover up. I just think there's so much going on in the world. Why him now?
And I know people will say it's to create a distraction from XYZ. I just feel like really like this is not a distraction and as such. I don't know. I just feel like the world is so crazy at the moment, which is why everyone is like, a lot of people are jumping on this as, you know, taking the extraordinary aspects of this case to another level. Like, it is interesting, don't get me wrong, but it also could be a very, very simple explanation of someone aging and experiencing either a mental health condition or a physical condition and just deciding to, you know, end it. I feel like it's probably unlikely that he's out there hiding out somewhere. Like, I don't know. I guess anything's possible, but
I just feel like even if it was gonna come out that like aliens existed or something, that the world is so hectic and crazy right now, people would be like, okay, and like no one would really even care at this point.
Yeah, everyone would be like, yep, just add it to the list. You found some good comments. This one I found was interesting because I feel like it kind of reiterates what we've been saying. They said, this reminds me of the many SAR missions I went on where we knew the victim had died by suicide. We just couldn't exactly locate them. That happens a lot more than you'd think, especially in this area. It just doesn't usually make the news because suicide is sadly fairly common, and ethical journalists, and they wrote, not that we have too many of those, LOL, also typically refrain from providing excessive coverage or too much detail, as there is some evidence that can trigger copycat suicides in vulnerable people. The only thing I've seen that makes this notable is his career, which I agree. I feel like there's so many other cases where people just disappear and they were said, you know, they were experiencing mental health crisis or addiction or something like that, and that's the last you ever hear of it. There's one article and that's it. So I do agree that his career plays a lot into why this has received a bit more media attention.
Yeah, I think if anything at all that happened to him, it would have been like, is it a conspiracy? Like if he got in a car accident and died, people would be like, wait a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless there was any other, like if it was even an illness, I feel like people could still be like, well, he was obviously infected with that because of his knowledge and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's people who believe a lot of things these days. Oh my God, I can't wait to get bullied over this episode. All right, so that is really it for this episode. Interested to hear what everyone thinks or what everyone thinks could have happened, if you agree with us, if you disagree with us. I'm sure everyone will let us know anyways.
The other thing is too, in this case, obviously, hopefully we'll get it out before anything. We actually, like, just because we've discussed theories and we don't know what's happened. And the point is we don't know what's happened. Your theory may be right. Our theory may be right. We can all discuss and be kind about it. Yeah. We just don't know. There are options and possibilities in this case. It could be any of them really, I guess.
Yes. So everything will be on the blog at truecrimesocietyblog.com. As always, if you want to see our sources or anything like that, make sure you're following us at True Crime Society on Instagram. We're always posting updates and clips and resharing things from cases that are going on right now or any updates. If you want to follow our accounts, mine is StephSum_, Olivia's TCS Olivia. If you want to see what we're up to, check us out on Patreon as well. We do weekly bonus episodes and all the episodes are ad-free. We also release the main episodes a day earlier so you'd get early access. And plus there's just some other fun chats on Patreon. We talk about books. We talk about Taylor Frankie Paul. We talk about lots of stuff on Patreon. So check us out there. And if you could just share to your Instagram stories listening to the podcast, like show us what you guys are doing while you're listening so we can reshare them and it helps us get the word out. We always appreciate when you guys do stuff like that. So that is it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. Stay safe out there. Peace out.